You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with KC Gonzalez.
Yo, what up, man?
KC, tell everybody here a little bit about yourself and what you do professionally.
Okay, so I am or actually professionally, I am a chef. I've been at it for 18 years now, and I do a whole bunch of other things in between it, like music and video and the pod and stuff. But for the time being, I am a chef, and I like to call myself a hack of all trades. So something of that.
Well, how did you decide to get into the cooking career, first of all?
Well, I've always liked cooking ever since I was young, and I attest that to my grandmother because she put me to cook at a really young age. And growing up, I was like, you know what? I think I really want to do this professionally. So I went ahead and I just started cooking. But I didn't go to school like most people would here in the States. So when I finally came over from the Philippines after college, I felt like I was wasting time during college because I'm like, I don't want to do anything else besides cooking. What am I wasting my time here? So I did 2 years. I went back home. I went to the local restaurant, or I think my first restaurant was an Italian restaurant. I was like, hey, do you guys need help? They're like, yeah, we need somebody for dishwasher. And then from then, dishwasher it was. Worked my way up.
Pretty common with a lot of people that work in like the least culinary field. It seems like they start off doing like the smallest jobs, such as being a busser or a dishwasher, and then working their way up to chef.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people think you have to go to culinary school. That's not always true. Actually, I've met some really good chefs that haven't been to culinary school at all. They just have this natural talent and understanding of food.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to people that really take it to a Gordon Ramsay extent where they do get upset at others for the way they, choose to make their food, only on the concept of it seems like nobody really cares too much about when it comes to sanitation.
Mm-hmm. And
it's hard because, from being from Ocean City, I'm here in a small town with a bunch of local businesses that kind of popularize the seafood effect. I mean, that's kind of what this area is known for. And
got it.
you're hearing all the time about restaurants not wiping down tables, not doing something correctly, just because they become lazy. And that's when it starts getting really bad because people start getting sick.
Yeah. Sanitation is paramount to what we do at the restaurant. And it's not that because here's my issue with it, right? The most vocal person on television is what you see and what you kind of relate to which is Chef Ramsay. He's out there. He has like bajillion shows, and you see him all the time. And it's his standard to keep it to where he wants. That's why he's all anal about it. And I get it absolutely. But the second part of it is where he starts to, berate people and yell. Yes, there's a time and place for that, but I personally don't do that to my staff. There's no need to talk down to somebody doing such. But, and here's where the big but is, where I kind of draw the line. He's selling dishes at $100, $200 a plate. I'm selling dishes $30 to $40 a plate. So there's definitely a big gap on the expense. And I mean, I'd be pissed off too. Somebody messes up my $200 steak if it's over or under compared to a $20 piece of chicken. So
there's so much ever-mounting pressure on top of people that work in an industry like that deals with the public, whether it's movies, whether it's music, whether it's food. And they're putting their faith in you to make sure that they have a good time. So they're relying all on you. So you also have, kind of unobtainable standards when it comes to trying to make sure you get every individual the perfect meal, basically. Not a lot of people write a good review on a restaurant unless that's their job. More people are going to write a bad one just to shit all over it if they had a bad time.
Oh
And
yeah.
I've talked to him, like my cousin who's a server, and he goes and says, technology sucks. I'm like, why? He's like, I swear, every time I'm trying to strike up a conversation to get tips, I can't because they're so disconnected and paying attention to their phone the whole time. And this is something I've experienced going to restaurants and just looking around and seeing everybody on their phone, not even conversating anymore.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a because it's a different feel nowadays, and I don't know. When I was growing up, there was no such thing as you're talking in your phone, just having a good time. Us having a good time was bantering and having just talking. That was like the thing when you're at a dinner table. Now people are just looking down their phones, taking pictures, whatever. It's like, oh, check this out. It's like that's the norm. So we kind of need to adapt to it, but at the same time, there should be processes where it shouldn't be that way because there were other things to do back then than to be on your phone.
Well, when you went out to a restaurant and you had to go experience something, like I did that as a kid with my grandparents. We went to TGI fucking Fridays.
Hey,
Let me,
man.
let me tell you, the bacon biscuit things they had,
Oh,
bro,
wow.
that would change your life forever. So
Yeah.
these were moments that we were creating. Like we would sit down and talk. We would find out what was going on in each other's day. It stopped
Hmm.
happening. Nowadays, families, like when they go out, it doesn't matter. You're spending $50 or $60 on a dinner. Okay. That means you should be conversating. You shouldn't just be sitting there on your phone the whole time. I always
Yeah.
found it strange that if I went to a restaurant and saw someone sitting alone, they had a book and they were reading the whole time. But
Hmm.
they still engaged in conversation with the waiter, the waitress. The waiter or waitress sat down usually and talked to them. It might be coming from getting more of tips and everything, but it was a sense of connectivity that we're losing. We're becoming very desocialized in a way, which kind of scares me because now people seem if a waiter comes up to you and you're on your phone and you're just ignoring them, you have a bad experience with that waiter in that brief little moment you met him. He goes, okay, I'll be right back, I'm gonna go get your food. They walk away,
Hmm.
you're immediately shitting on them on Instagram, Snapchat, whatever social media device you're on.
Yeah.
It's like you
Eh,
didn't even get the chance to know that person.
At all. And that is such a common tale. You can preach it all day. That is what it is right now. And it's tough. It's super tough.
What do you find are kind of some of the complications of dealing with the cooking industry a little bit?
Most of it it's really not that complicated, but the main thing that people will get not really wrong or don't really have an insight to is the ever changing amount of processes and details. Because okay, did you know that? Have you ever heard of the HACCP program?
I have not.
Okay, that's just a fancy term for hazard analysis associated protocol. But anyway, it's it's not a website, but it's a standard, not the FDA standard,
It's a
but
guideline.
it's a guideline in the kitchen that changes every year to keep up with different codes, board of health issues, etc., for every state, every borough, etc., no matter where you are. And as people in the industry, especially the managers, we typically take this and renew it every 3 years. But there are new things that happen and gets changed every year. So if you're not up to date with all that stuff, especially when the food inspector, the state comes in, yeah, you will get that bad grade. You will get the why haven't you been on this the newest step on how to clean veggies or some shit, or like why are you still using this chemical to clean silverware? Like we out that like 2 months ago.
Yeah, we found
So
health risks in chemical things.
exactly. So you have to be on the button on that every day, every week. Make sure your staff is trained every day, every week. And that's where a lot of mom and pop shops, and I hate saying mom and pop shops, but they don't necessarily keep up with it. And that's where you're going to find all those struggles kind of.
Yeah, I've talked to people that own small businesses, and I ask them like, "Why don't you ever work on expanding and getting more of your good food out there?" And they said it would lose the quality and the family aspect that they hold so near and dear. Nowadays,
Absolutely.
you're comfortable with just getting McDonald's, which really makes me laugh when I consider how someone looks at a restaurant that has like a D grading in health or whatever, and they're like,
Mm.
"Oh, well, I'll just get a McDonald's burger." I'm like, "That's not any fucking better. That's
No,
not
it's
any
not.
better." It's like
That
that.
is not
Honestly,
better.
that food doesn't even have taste to it, really. You're not sitting there buying McDonald's and enjoying the burger. No, you eat it. You just shove it in your face. And honestly, if you have ever had fast food, it used to be different back in the day. Like if you go to Arby's and you have something from there, then you go over to, let's say, somewhere more kind of popular like McDonald's. It's two completely different tastes. It seems like with
Definitely.
McDonald's, the taste lasts a quick second. Like it was like I feel like they're painting literally logs of shit and just feeding it to you.
Well, it's fast food, and that's what it is. It's made to be consumed in a fast pace. It's made for convenience. So yes, there is a little bit of taste there, but it's just trash. That's what you're putting into your body. You know, like I mentioned to you earlier, I went to a road trip. So my wife and I took a road trip here all the way from New Jersey. Took a car rental and drove it all the way out to Portland. And during our trip, never once did we stop at a fast food chain. We all went to actual, restaurants and had a good time. And that was like our main thing about it. We're gonna go out and have an experience. And let me tell you something, it's one of the best things I've ever done. And some of the best foods I've ever had during the way. So now I'm pissed because I've had some of the best in the country going out that way, and now every other food that I've eaten will not be up to par. So yeah, don't, if you just do yourself your favor, just don't even do fast food. And I haven't had fast food in like maybe 8 years now.
Yeah, I haven't had it like probably 7 or so.
Yeah,
I
I
got
don't even mess with it.
I got into the fitness realm, but when I was first working out, I was sweating basically all the nasty stuff I was consuming in my body. Like this is like high school, so I was eating bags of Doritos, Mountain Dew, and then I started running on the treadmill, and I was sweating nothing but spicy nacho Doritos. And I swear to God, I haven't eaten a Dorito in 7 years. I can't even.
Yeah.
It hurts my stomach to even look at it. And this is when we talk about interpretations with food. Impressions are fucking everything when it comes to food. If you
Oh
have
yeah.
something and it does not taste good the first time, I guarantee you, you're not picking it up again.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That is.
Have you ever had any weird or exotic food that you would consider?
Oh yeah, all the time. I'm Filipino in my background, and I wasn't born and raised here. I was actually born and raised in the Philippines. So when I came over when I was 12, I've eaten weird shit that is pretty normal to what our cuisine is, but to over here, they're like, oh my god, you've had that, and it's weird. So just to kind of go about it, I've had snake, I've had rat, I've had some cat, dog, because those are like different livestock in the Philippines. It's not over here where cows are plenty, or pig is a plenty.
Yeah, you hear
Back in my country,
people that like from me, they immediately hear dog and cat and they go, "What? You've eaten dog and cat?" I mean,
yeah,
does that taste any good? I mean,
it tastes just like what your normal would taste like. So for you, like probably chicken is like the most normal thing, right?
mhm.
Or pork or beef or something. It's just the same thing. You're just in a different country. So our livestock is just a little different, and to us that's normal. But we don't. It's been a long time since, and we don't eat those as much anymore. But now, since everyone kind of economy is a lot better, there's more of the pork. So for us, we are a pork nation, and and a lot of fish. So fish and pork is predominant in the Philippines. Beef, not so much. It's hard to get and it's expensive.
You're making me want to see what a Shih Tzu tastes like. I honestly, this might be a stupid question, but I wonder if the type of dog, like the breed, probably changes
hmm
the taste.
Maybe.
Like maybe
I don't know.
Labrador tastes a little bit different than like a Shih Tzu.
Yeah, maybe. The only thing I can remember is it wasn't like you just take like a random dog. It was actual like in a farm, the ones that we ate. And if I can remember, I think it was just German shepherds that they raised. I'm not 100%. It's been so long
Oh, you got that
since
top of
I've
the
been out.
line dog.
No, but it's like that's normal. You know what I mean? Like
That's like the standard. If that's the standard, that's a high class standard. You're not getting, no bullshit. You're getting a German Shepherd. This is a German Shepherd steak.
yeah.
That's
But
well, see, I chalk up the example to the whole factor of a lot of people when they hear you consume dog, you consume cat, like how horrible. I'm like, do you even know why
mm,
we chose cows and pigs for farm animals? No. You know why? It's because they don't have any fucking eyebrows.
yeah,
They have no facial expression whatsoever, so it was easy for us to kill them.
yeah.
Most of the people out here in America don't realize it, but they probably have consumed dog, cat, roach, anything of that sort.
Oh yeah, they probably have.
There was a horse meat scandal when it came to Hot Pockets, all right? There was
Mm.
500 million cases that were contaminated with horse meat. So there's a
That-
bunch of people out there that consumed a Hot Pocket and freaking ate horse. So
yeah, and they had no idea about it either. And they're like, "Oh yeah, this is so good."
and you'd still
And
consume it because we're not paying
yeah.
attention to our senses anymore.
Mm, absolutely. So for us, that was normal. But look from the outside looking in, you're like, oh my god, that's gross, because that's not what your normal is, and I think that's where you're kind of touching base upon. Being American, we don't over here in the States at least, we don't particularly eat those kind of foods. So when you see other countries do it, you're like, I don't know about that. But to that country, if they're looking here in the US, they're like, you guys are weird. So it's like the same thing, kind of.
I feel like a lot of people just don't understand because we're just so completely oblivious to the
Mm-hmm.
concept of what's going on around us. Like someone tells you what to do, you just 100% follow by it. Even if you don't agree with it, you just do it.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when you look at the restaurant industry, especially when you consider the FDA, nobody everyone thinks like, oh, the FDA, they just put like they go to places, they check the sanitation. I'm like, they do a hell of a lot more than that, and they're pretty fucking good at what they do too.
Yeah.
They make sure like recently we had the salmonella poisoning with lettuce and
Mm-hmm.
salmonella poisoning with honey smacks.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a hundred box of honey smacks 2 days before that salmonella poisoning outbreak, and they took it off
Oh
the
shit.
shelves. Yeah, I got sick from that cereal, but it was more like I paid $5 for a box of honey smacks. If I'm gonna die by anything, it's gonna be by this honey smacks. So I kept eating it, even though I knew it was making me sick. But it just goes to show like how some people can be so ignorant to really look at
Mm-hmm.
the true problem. I mean, when everything comes down to how you feel, how your body works, everything that goes on, the mental processes, hormonal changes, it all is linked to nutrition.
Yeah.
So if you're feeding your
Definitely.
body shit all day, you're going to feel like shit all day. That's why people choose to live a healthy and clean lifestyle, because they like the effects they get from that. And
Absolutely.
one of the hardest things for me to understand was when I had to take my buddy out to a restaurant because he's vegan.
Mm.
And that's like an extra 40 minutes onto just ordering, mostly because
Yeah.
he knows what he wants to get. He knows what he has to get, but he has to ask questions on it. And
Yeah.
I tell him, I'm like, how do you know they're not just fucking doing the complete opposite? And he goes, you have to put your faith in people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I understand that. But like, you're sitting there saying you can't have your salad prepared near any type of meat. Like, what happens if some dude was just, okay, whatever, and then grabbed a steak, threw it on top of your salad, then took it right back off? Then it was contaminated with the food. He goes, yeah, well, hopefully they don't do that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that would be so hard to try and live vegan, putting your faith in others, knowing that a lot of people in the world are pretty crooked about the way they do things.
Oh yeah. And that's commonplace. And here's where I say it again: the mom and pop shops versus the corporate. So we, at least for the restaurant that I work for, we are corporate. And whenever somebody says an allergy or a preference to something like a vegan or vegetarian or whatever, we will try our utmost best, and I mean our utmost best, to do said allergy. So for example, somebody said, hey, we're allergic to fish. I'm a fish restaurant. I get it. It's stupid. Why would you go to my restaurant if you're allergic to fish? We get it all the time. But let's say they want like, I don't know, like a fucking salad or some shit. And there's literally fish everywhere. So we will take it to the back of the prep area, get new utensils, etc. Like the whole thing, just to make sure. Yeah, it's going to take a little longer, but we're going to try to absolutely make sure you don't get anything contaminated on your food because we don't want you to die. But at the same time, we would mention, it's like, hey, look, listen, I understand and we appreciate your business, but you are allergic to fish. Don't come to the restaurant. You know, like don't put yourself in that risk just to have some food that we have, but you're allergic to some or most of the items in my restaurant. Don't do that. Like that's silly.
Yeah, it's weird because a lot of people don't understand. Like they think of the restaurant industry as the movie Still Waiting. Okay,
Mm,
I don't know if you ever seen that movie, but
I've
like
not, but I've heard of it.
one customer complains. She's kind of like a bitch customer. And the waitress goes, okay, okay, I'm so sorry, man. He goes, yeah, can you actually cook this properly? And
Oh.
we all know that. And you know what you want to say after that. Well, the waitress goes in the back, what a bitch. I want you to fuck with her food hard. All right, man. How about a little bit of ass cheese? And he grabs her steak and rubs, or her garlic bread and rubs it on his ass, and then puts it
Nice.
back on the plate. And then each chef is literally going down the line and fucking with her food. He goes, "Oh, you want a little bit of sea salt for your steak?" And he grabs his head and starts scratching it, and dandruff starts landing on top of the steak. And I'm like, "Wow!" And then you get to see this woman, like they give it back to her, and she goes, "Thank you." And then she starts eating it, and I'm just like, this is where you put your faith in people, hoping that they won't mess with your food. Because honestly, I've heard cases about it in my town. Somebody was messing with someone's food. They would drop it on the ground. There was video.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of people don't understand that's a serious crime.
Yeah, man. And
It's
like at the same time, like you don't want to fuck with staff. Like I get it. Don't be pompous. Don't be somebody that you're not. You know, don't do that in a restaurant because people are people, and I get it. You know, sometimes my staff would do something stupid of the same nature, and I'm like, really, guys, like that's yeah. Let's just restart it. Okay, like I understand we're all mad at it, but let's not jeopardize their health just because we're pissed at it or they're piece of shits. So let's just do it over, and
how,
that's where the line kind of starts.
how much of a problem is it for you to make sure that your staff is actually cooking the food properly? Like it seems like they have an unreasonable like let's talk about like a busy night or something.
Mhm.
You got a bunch of orders coming up and you're falling behind. It's very, very simple. Instead of keeping something in the oven for this long or keeping something on the stove for this long, you cut it by maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Next thing you know, the customer gets it and then they get food poisoning from it because it wasn't cooked properly. I've gone to a restaurant and I've eaten fish before where it wasn't cooked all the way. And I've seriously gotten really, really physically ill from it to the point where I never went back to that restaurant.
So here's where the standard is, right? So at least for the restaurant that I work for, food and safety is number one. And number two, food and safety for my staff is number two, meaning are they using their utensils correct? Are they cleaning it? Are they washing their boards? Are they sanitizing their plates? Are they wiping shit? It's so anal, and I kid you not, it's monotonous, and they know it. It's like, hey, did you wash your hands? Hey, wipe your board. Hey, make sure that the plate is clean. If it not, just put it in the dish. Like if that's over and over before any of the food gets cooked. That's what we have to focus more on first before we plate it. And once we do cook it, and then the proper temperature. But and here's where I was mentioning to you where it kind of draws a line. The type of fish and the grade of fish is where it's going to separate you. So and it's sad to say your mom and pop shop probably didn't have the freshest of fish. I kid you not, because like it's when we're paying $60 to $70 per like steak of tuna in my restaurant, I'm making sure that I source that with the best possible vendors. And we're making sure that that is the utmost quality that you're paying for because that's what you're paying for.
Yeah, you don't want to buy
And
some fish from a dude selling
absolutely,
them in a
yeah.
cart in a back alley.
Yeah. So, and that in turn, I am confident in my product that I can serve that to you as rare as possible because I know it came to a good source. And that's where the other part of that conversation is. Where did you get your fish? Where did you source it? Can you trust them? Was it from a farm? And I hate saying the word farm, but with farmers, we know what they put in it, what they feed the fish, how the processes are done, how they get rid of waste, and that you can track. So just in case that somebody does get poisoned or whatever the hell it is from that fucking fish, you can go to the farmers like, hey, something you guys fucked up and somebody got sick. Check your processes, and that's where the cool thing is about the farm, where you're getting farm raised stuff. But if you
when you farm raise something, especially like tuna or a specific type of fish, that is actually one of the hardest things to farm raise because the water gets contaminated. The whole damn batch is contaminated.
I know.
It's like when you make cookies and you accidentally put something that's not supposed to be in there, it hits every single cookie. You're literally you're screwed. You got to kind of throw it over and restart. This is why the FDA, actually one of their top regulated things is farm raised fish. The concept of there's so much water pollution going on. They got to make sure that someone's not getting oil or something that leaks into a fish. This is actually a problem nowadays. It actually sparked a trend now. People are more worried about GMOs. I tell people, even if you're buying organic and you're paying that extra like $10 for an apple or something, you're still getting GMOs.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter if it has the organic sticker on it.
Absolutely. And I'm going to get you a little knowledge. Did you know that the word organic has levels to it?
What do you mean?
Okay. So if you, in the stores, there is organic, meaning just about 60% of that item is organic. And then there is the certified organic, like farm raised or whatever organic. That's just about 80% of the item that is truly organic. And then there's the USDA seal organic, and that is probably the highest quality you can get, just about at 95 or 96% organic.
It's like that Germex that kills 99.9%.
Yeah. So the USDA, not really USDA, but the FDA or whoever's writing the food labels, they're not necessarily lying to you, but they're like lawyers. And that's what we kind of need to tell people, and they need to be aware of. They don't tell you 100% on the label what's exactly on the label. They just need to tell you enough information that covers their bases, and that is it.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't even pay attention to nutrition labels. Like me being a fitness freak, my worst thing, I tell people, stop looking at nutrition labels, because once you start doing that, you can't stop. Every time I grab an item that I don't know about, I'm immediately looking at the nutrition labels. I more look at the calorie content rather than the ingredients used in it. But it's like it fucks with your mind in a way to where you can't really enjoy food anymore. You're kind of
like, it messes with you so bad.
Yeah, everything I look at now, I know the protein content. That's all I care about, the protein content. I'm like, to be honest, it's like it's better sometimes just to have a nice like cheeseburger, have a nice, pizza. These are foods I haven't really had in a while. It actually made it difficult trying to eat clean and live like a fitness freak lifestyle for so long. I've done it for 7 years. I stopped eating out at restaurants.
Yeah.
You can't explain it to people because you're like, well, I'd rather just go home, eat a $1 can of tuna with a salad and spice it up. Like I've extensively went through my spice cabinet.
It's funny you mention that because my wife and I, besides this trip that we just took for 2 weeks, we've ate like assholes, man. And it was great to experience different cultures, to experience different states and their givings and the best at what they do. We've had some of the best foods traveling, but normally here at our home, we do an 80-20 rule. And I cover this on my podcast too. 80% plant-based, 20% everything else, because one, being just pure clean on what you eat, you will go bananas. Your brain will go insane because you're like, I need to eat this. I can't have that, blah, blah. You're more likely to not follow suit if you don't have like an off day and that's really important. And I know you do it too. You have at least a cheat day.
I know.
Uh,
Actually, I haven't. I just started
okay.
incorporating that after 7 years working out every single day. Let me tell
Mm,
you something. This is what leads to binges and purges and all these things where you get freak out about it, because when
mm,
you do have something, like my mom's not a clean eater. So a lot of my family members aren't clean eaters. So they eat like fried chicken. They eat
mm.
pizza. You know how hard it is to walk by a fucking pizza when you haven't had it
Oh
in
yeah.
years? You're like, give me that fucking thing. And you just end up folding the whole damn thing into a taco and then try to
Hmm.
shove it down your face.
Exactly. So the 20% gives us a little bit of leeway to still be able to eat some of the things that we used to love. That way, you're not constantly just, you're not just so angst that you need to always be up to, the standard. And it works for our lifestyle. And, we miss it sometimes, all the time, when we used to eat like crap. But
And not gain
now,
a pound from it.
and not getting a pan of pound. Yeah, exactly.
When you go into eating clean, now it seems like you'll put on 1,000 pounds after you eat just like a scoop
Yeah.
of Ben and Jerry's. I
Yeah.
used to kill Ben and Jerry's, that food fish thing they had, that with the chocolate fish, the fudge
Oh,
fish,
yeah.
chocolate ice cream with marshmallow, caramel, and all this stuff. I used to kill a whole pint of that in one sitting when I was a kid. I used to kill a bag of Doritos in one sitting when I was a kid, not
Oh,
gain
wow.
a pound. I can't. If I tried to do that now, it would mess with my body so bad. I've been eating clean for so long that when I do have, like, now my body has given up on red meats. It will not.
Mm-hmm.
When I consume red meat, it does not work. I've been so strictly chicken breast and fish.
Mm-hmm.
If I have a burger or a bit of a steak, I will not go to the bathroom for 5 or 6 days. My
Yeah.
body just like shuts down, does not know how to process it, and I feel like shit that whole time. And
Mm-hmm.
one of my bodybuilding managers at my gym told me, he goes, it's like you literally just put diesel in your Corvette. Like, your body is your Corvette, okay? It's it's
Mm-hmm.
it's used to a supreme amount of fuel. You just threw some regular bullshit into it and expect it to run right. And I'm like, that's true, man. That's a good way of explaining it, because I always thought that was just something wrong with me. But no, your body adapts to the types of food you eat. You shed new cells every 7 years. You're a completely different
Mm-hmm.
person. So, when you're living like a clean lifestyle, your body every month is like, its organs and all these things are naturally kind of changing over cells die, new ones take its place. And after a while, like, you're feeding your body nothing but some of the top class nutrition when it comes to just healthy eating. When you have a cheeseburger from McDonald's, you feel like shit afterwards. Like, you don't know what to do with yourself.
Oh, bro. This so I think my brother and I think we I want to say this was like 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago now. We just got back from the gym and he was hungry. So I was like, you know what, fuck it, let's go. Let's go eat some. And mind you, it's like maybe 8 o'clock in the morning. There's not that many stores open at 8 o'clock in the morning. And he just happened because my brother's young, he eats pretty fucking whatever the hell it is.
Like
And
a normal person.
he like a normal person, right? And he was like, "Yo, let's go to McDonald's." I'm like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like I haven't eaten it. I don't know if but he wanted to. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, let's go. So he ordered, what is it? That breakfast sandwich that they have,
The McMuffin, bro.
the McMuffin, right? Whatever the hell that is.
Those things
So,
are banging. I don't care. I smell
oh
those
yeah,
things
yeah,
and I'm like, can you
they
just
are
get
banging.
one for me? And some kid on the
Yeah.
street's like, what? I'm like, I will give you money right now to go to McDonald's and just eat a McMuffin and let me watch you eat it. And he's like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah, it's weird. So he orders two of them. I order one, and I'm like, I'm really. So this was 4 years ago, right? He eats it. He kills it. It smells amazing. It's in my face. I'm like, oh wow, it does smell good. It looks a little different because I haven't been to it in so long. I then eat it. It tastes okay, but in about 20 minutes, yo, my stomach was like, what the hell did you just eat? Like, what the fuck? Why? We I thought we were friends. So yeah, I cannot do fast food at all. It's
It's
just,
crazy because it feels like someone's taking a knife and twisting out your insides. And you're like, I
yeah,
used
it's
to
so
eat this on
bad.
a daily basis. But it just shows you what happens when you hop off something like that. And I like, I chalk it up to Bill Burr's bit when he says, you know, you go to McDonald's to get your kid to shut up. On the aspect of there's
Yeah.
so much processes and sugars and all these things where they're literally doping you up. This is what I say. I feel like fast food is kind of doping you in a way, kind of keeping you mindless
Mhm.
and bland. Our bodies, like as adults, are used to that horse shit. So we're able to eat a burger and kind of still be able to function, but we're more like kind of like feel sluggish afterwards. But a
Yeah.
kid with their body going through so many things, looking for so much different information, when they get a burger or they get a Happy Meal, they immediately conk out after they eat it
Yeah.
because they're getting
Eh,
so rushed with so much chemicals and shit that it's like, I can't handle this.
yeah, yeah. So it's gonna be interesting when my wife and I finally get kids, because that kid is gonna eat amazing. Amazing. And our food is gonna be quite well. And I'm gonna make sure that my foot's down when we are eating out and just at the home stuff, that it's going to be 100% as
Connectivity.
good as I can make it. Yeah. You know, we're still on a table, we're eating, we're having a good time, no phones. So I'm gonna take it upon myself to take it the way like I was raised, and have a conversation with food, make sure my kid knows where it's coming from, how it's made, etc., the whole thing. Because I think people take that for granted because we are kids. You actually retain a lot of information when you're younger. So hopefully,
You're practically a sponge. You soak up everything. This is the reason why
yeah,
the easiest time to teach a kid is when they're little. You can teach them a whole new language and they'll learn it. Like, I
yeah,
mean, like it's nothing. You just get so influenced in a way. And it's crazy because a lot of people, like for me, my influence when I even decided to learn how to try and cook a little bit, or at least I've never honestly used the oven. I was always
mm,
steered away from it, mostly on the concept of I saw too many movies and I had an older brother that would kind of mess around like when I got near it. And especially when you open it up and you feel that wave of heat hit your face when you're a little kid, you know,
yeah,
I had to learn the hard way that when you touch a light bulb, you're going to get yourself burned. You know, someone told me, I was like, okay. And then when they walked out of the room, I touched a light bulb and burned my finger. You know,
yeah,
I learned. And you know, when my grandma was teaching me things, she's like, let me teach you how to make pancakes. Let me teach you how to make eggs. Let me teach you how to make scrapple. Let me teach you how to make all these things. And I'm sitting there just watching her cook. She'd get a bunch of fruit in front of me and she goes, all right, start chopping. I'm like, what? She's like, let me show you how to cut a pineapple. She showed me you cut the top off, you cut the bottom off, you cut it side to side, you do all these things, you slice it out, take out the core. And I'm like, wow. And she chopped it up into this giant, like, salad bowl filled with fruit.
mm,
And I'm like, this is amazing. Like
yeah,
I'm watching this because I'm just used to, you know, the one of the best snacks still today, in my opinion. You take a slice of bread, a piece of cheese on top of it, a little bit of pepperoni, and toss that bitch in the microwave for 20 seconds. Dude, melted cheese and pepperoni is the way to go.
no, no, I know.
And she was like, won't you want to actually expand your taste buds a little bit? And I'm like, no, I'm just so used to eating the same bland stuff. But after eating salads for so long, I learned so much about my spice cabinet. I learned a lot more about cooking where I thought it was just, you know, I look at food as a process. Like it's like a 5 minute thing that needs to be done and over with. It's just enough to keep me sustained. But
Yeah,
it boggled my mind how she would sit there and cook for hours. I mean, she would just go into it, you know?
yeah,
It's I understand it because it is a sense of relaxation, whether it's baking, whether it's just normal cooking, whether it's, you know, frying. Uh, it's really cool because you're making something, and when it gets done, people get to enjoy it, especially if you took
hmm,
time out and crafted your way through it.
yeah. Well, she gets the joy out of it. You know, like you would on your end too, on whatever the hell you're doing. You get the joy out of it. It's the same exact thing. But to her, she just prefers to cook, and
Yeah.
she gets her fix out of that way. And it's one of the most amazing things that you can experience. At least that's why I got into it. I love the whole cooking aspect. I love feeding other people. I love seeing the joy on their faces when they're eating the food that I've made for them to taste. And I love the experience of it. And then we get to talk after, you know, just kind of just banter. And that's one of the most, I think for me, the best high I can get And
So when
that's
you're
why
seeing
I love
someone's
it.
face literally light up
Yeah.
after eating something, like we all see it when we look at a little kid that's at a restaurant that
Mm.
hasn't really learned how to talk yet, but you feed them something and their face just like looks up like someone just slapped them and they're like super excited, like don't know how to stop shaking their head, like, whoa, this is awesome. And
Mm.
I saw my little cousin doing that. I remember the first time I went to a pizza restaurant, where I used to live was right across from like a, not a Harris Teeter, a Walgreens. I think it
Mm.
was 2 teas for $1. So I'd just go there, walk across the street, grab one of those, grab an Arizona green tea or something, and I'd walk over to this pizza joint that was right by my house. I would walk in, and I remember I heard something called calamari. I'm like, what the fuck is calamari? And it starts giving you like a brief description, squid, all this stuff. I'm like, well, I love everything that comes out of the sea, so I might as well try it. And I get
Yeah.
this thing, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is what I ordered. I need like 8 plates of these. This isn't gonna
Yeah.
fill me up. And I started eating it. It was really good. You wouldn't think that
Yeah.
squid if nobody told you.
Yeah. A lot of people, that's what I said. It's all about experiences in a restaurant. And that's what at least that's what we try to convey to other people. If you never had that kind of food, or never had that kind of ingredient, it's our job to make sure you have a good time and that you understand what you're eating. And then hopefully on the next time, you can suggest it to one of your friends so they can have it also and have the same experience.
It's crazy because I want to ask you this. So, you deal in all realms of the world of cooking. So, what have you found to be your favorite? Like, do you have a particular meal you like to serve? Do you have a
Oh,
particular
yeah.
style that you like to
Ramen.
do? You like serving ramen noodles?
Ramen is my shit. Yo,
Now,
if we
actual
can,
ramen, not the shit
yeah,
that
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, actual ramen. Like, so my heritage, I'm Filipino. I think I want to say like half Spaniard, Japanese, Chinese, and native Filipino. And one of my favorite meals, still to this day, is actual ramen. Like Japanese ramen is my jam. I cannot get enough out of it. Eventually, if it's my restaurant, and that's what I'm striving to work towards, it will be a ramen joint with some fixins out of my brain, and I cannot get enough of ramen and proper ramen. Like just there's this one restaurant here, not really a restaurant, more of a supermarket. So if you're ever in New Jersey, there is this Asian supermarket in Edgewater, New Jersey, called Mitsuya. It's huge. It's like a big ass fucking supermarket. It's like a Walgreens kind of. Let's put it that way, but just supersize it a little bit. And at the back, there are stalls, meaning like little restaurants or little eating spots that you can, right? On one corner, and you can't miss it. They still have flags, the Japanese flags there, with Japanese markings. They don't necessarily speak English, but they have numbers to their meals and stuff, so you can kind of see it. And the number 32 spicy tonkotsu ramen. Tonkotsu is just pork, and changed my life. That was, oh my god. To this day, I want my ramen to taste like that. It is so good, so good.
Yeah, for me, it's
Um,
it's hard to look when I hear ramen. Like, I've experienced what real ramen is, and then I've experienced the stuff that more people think of when they think of ramen, the ones that you get in a
mm,
packet that's flavored
yeah,
chicken, and you spread it on there, and it seems like only half of it tastes like actual, you know, tastes like actually what it's
yeah.
supposed to be chicken flavoring. But I find it crazy because I had a buddy that was on my podcast. He's a sushi chef and he's Vietnamese. And I
Mm,
asked him, I was like, what do you think about the fact that they just hire a certain race or a certain ethnicity based on authenticity, even though you might not have
mm,
any more experience than a guy that is white or something of a different ethnicity that might be studying that field for 30 something years. I came
mm,
across this thought because I I researched into there was this article I read on Facebook about a guy that was a sushi chef and he was white. And I was like, how the
mm.
fuck are you white and you're a sushi chef, man? Like, doesn't make any sense. And he talked about owning actually one of the most authentic like sushi restaurants in the business. He grew
Mm-hmm.
up in Japan. He First of all, he talks about the process of becoming a sushi chef. He wasn't just hired
Mm.
off the street. He had to work his way up. He actually went to Taiwan, went to Japan, went to all these different places and became diverse in the culture, where he ended up living
Mm.
for 40 something years before he owned his own business here. And he
Yeah.
talks about there's about 3 years where you're doing nothing but preparing fish. You're not even
Oh
going to
yeah.
make the sushi. Then there's like a
Mm-hmm.
5 year process of learning how to learn the shoju type shinjitsu style with the spinning of the blades and that type of
Mm-hmm.
properly prepare sushi. And he talked
Yeah.
about like a 10-year process of just learning how to prepare the fish before you even get to start to make the sushi. I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
holy shit. Like that's a
Yeah.
long
Yeah.
drawn process. But then he talks about it now. He goes, you know how many people come to my restaurant? Not a whole lot. You know why? Because when they think authenticity, they look at the person who's at the counter. They see a white
Yeah.
guy, they immediately think this isn't going to be authentic. And he goes, let me
Yeah.
tell you something. More Chinese restaurants that you think are going to be authentic, just because they have a Chinese person working there, does not mean they're authentic at all. Actually, it's probably so modernized. If you see a takeout menu on the front door, that's a modernized, Americanized restaurant. When you see
Correct.
soy sauce on the table, that is an Americanized restaurant, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But immediately people think based on your looks that like, my buddy was hired because he was Vietnamese, even though he had
Mm.
nothing about it. And I was telling him, I was like, do you find it weird that whenever we say, let's get authentic Mexican food, we have to go find a Mexican restaurant that's run by a certain ethnicity? And he goes, yeah, that is a little weird why we do that. And I was like, dude, I've been to some places before where it's a Japanese person serving Mexican food. Let me tell you, it tasted like it had a lot more soul in it than what that one authentic Mexican restaurant was.
Oh no, absolutely. And to his point, I know all too well the process of sushi, and just the rice alone is where you're going to spend so much time just to get that correct consistency day in, day out. And that is true for most Asian cultures. It takes a while, and they want you to be good at it. And you can't expect to do the same method in a week's worth compared to 5 years when they think you're more competent at it, but still not good at it. And so that's just the mentality though, especially when it comes to Japanese and how they are so work ethic based. I can fully relate to that because I feel the same way. Like I've been at it for 18 years. I feel like I'm not even scratching the surface. I'm just like I'm okay.
Well, it's like
That's why I hate.
it's a
Yeah,
trade
yeah.
job basically in a way. You're
It's a trade
learning
job. Yeah, yeah.
new things every single day. You're never not learning.
And I make it to a point to tell my staff to stop calling me chef. I hate it. I hate that word. I kind of jeer upon it with my podcast because it is called Chef Salty Pork, but just the word chef to me, I feel that I haven't accomplished it yet because there's so much of the facet of cooking. I'm just doing a quarter of it so far. There's still the pâtissier version, which is the bakery part. There's the sweets where you're just focusing solely on like creams and ice creams and stuff. There's the baking portion where I don't do too much out of, and then there's just so much that I don't know. So in my brain, how dare you call me chef? Because I'm not even a complete person of that nature.
Yeah, and it really boggles my mind that people that just start becoming a chef or start becoming like a cook anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and they immediately think now that they have that title, they wear the apron, that they should be called chef. They should be addressed as chef. It's like being a doctor and not actually having a doctorate. You know,
Mm,
it's like you're walking around with a false title, sir. And
yeah.
when we talk about ramen noodles, man, I actually went to like my favorite type of cuisine is Asian cuisine.
Hey.
I love everything from that whole realm. When it comes to sushi, it's not even original. Everyone thinks Japan. No, it originated in Taiwan. And
Mm-hmm.
I learned the history behind it. I learned like what it means. Like I used to go to one of my favorite restaurants in Salisbury. It is a buffet style place, okay? For me, I can tear up 50 California rolls like it's nothing. Whenever I go to a Chinese buffet or one of these Panda Express places, I immediately go towards the sushi rolls. And it's funny because there'll be a guy like watching it. because he prepares it in front of you and just places it out. He'll grab you like 4 of them and throw them on the plate. I'm like, I just sit there with the plate out, and he gives me 4 more, and I just sit there with the plate out, 4 more, and he looks at me
Yeah.
like, dude, you're not going to eat 16 of them. I'm like, stack it up, bro. Stack it up. 'Cause when I sit down, I don't feel like getting back up 5 minutes later. And dude,
Yeah.
I can murder those things. I mean, quick. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so freaking good too. From coming from, like, I remember one time I accidentally got tofu and I didn't know what tofu was, and I ate it.
Uh-huh.
I was like, whoa, this is a different taste. This is
Yeah.
something and strange. And
Yeah.
people wonder why, like, why do you eat Chinese food and knowing you're going to be hungry a couple hours later? If you really pay attention to that, it's the sodium, the amount of sodium
Mhm.
they have inside the food. It fills you up. Sodium fills
Yeah.
you up. And I love Asian cuisine when it comes to, I mean, a nice dumpling, when it comes to
Mm.
a nice, like, I'm a big fish guy. I'm a big seafood guy. And that's all really that's on the menu for like a Chinese restaurant is stuff that
Mhm.
goes in the realms of fish and rice. And I remember like we talked about going to a different place and learning kind of what food they have there and not buying like fast food or something. When I
Yeah.
went to Hawaii, all my cousins are from Hawaii. So I went over there and they have a thing called spam asubi. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah, man.
Dude,
That's what's up, yo.
they sold that in the fucking gas station or the
Oh
AV
yeah.
store on the side of the street. I was buying 50 of those fucking things. And then when I came back to where I live, there you couldn't get it anywhere. And I felt like
Nope.
I had to go and actually buy the ingredients to make it myself. For people that don't know, it's a slice of spam on top of rice wrapped in seaweed. It's so good.
Yo, talk about that, my brother. I like if I can. So on my podcast, the last question that I usually ask, because I do a little bit on every Thursday, and I just interview other podcasters, just trying to see what they eat, how they eat, and how or what they think of food in general. And the last question I will always ask is, have you ever eaten spam? And I kid you not, out of the 80 people that I've interviewed, only 5 said they've eaten spam.
And
So it's such a big thing, yo.
it's weird. I don't like regular spam out of the can, but I love it when it's attached onto rice and seaweed, where it doesn't even
Oh
feel
yeah.
like you're really eating the actual spam. It feels like it changes the whole flavor profile. Like
Hmm.
I used to love eating Taco Bell. Me and my dad, like when I was like 13, 12, would just go to Taco Bell, get a Taco 12 pack and split it. Now, I learned about a spice that makes it taste exactly like Taco Bell's taco meat, cumin.
Hmm. Hmm.
Dude, you put cumin on a salad, it feels like you're eating Taco Bell. It totally kills that craving. Like
Yeah.
for me, I don't eat bread. I don't eat those types of things. I just see it as like blank nutrition. So for me, what I do is I make raw tacos. Have you ever heard of what a
Hmm.
raw taco is?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You
Hmm.
take a nice cabbage leaf and you fill it up with meat on the inside and roll it up like a taco and eat it. That crunch you get from a nice cabbage leaf kills your craving for bread.
Oh yeah. We do what we call that when we have tacos and they were like, we don't want the taco, can you sub lettuce to it or something like that. That's just like a veggie preparation of it. And we actually prefer that in our restaurant. Cause like tacos are cool, but why go to that route when there's this beautiful lettuce right here? Or we typically use it romaine lettuce. Gives you a nicer crunch. It gives you such a more satisfying experience than the taco shell. And yeah, I'm fully with it.
So if we talked about sushi being, or not sushi, but ramen being your favorite. What is your least favorite food where you're like, this is just the most disgusting thing I've ever had?
Okra.
Okra?
Okay. Because there's a story to it, right? And I can eat okra done in a proper way. So when we were in Louisiana, we had gumbo, and to make it a little thick or give it a little that viscous, that consistency, they use okra. They don't use flour or cornstarch to make any roux thicker. There's a natural ingredient, and that's okra. The reason why I hate it, when I was younger, still in the Philippines, my grandmother, and here's a story that I tell. My grandmother, I think it was, I don't know, it was like after I came back from school, she would usually cook like a little bowl, something somebody tied us over before dinner, and she's like, "Hey, come inside. I have some new things." I'm like, "Oh, cool. Let's go inside. Let's eat it." And lo and behold, right there in front of us, a little bowl soup of okra. And to her brain, she just, she went to the market. She found this just great ingredient. I don't think she's ever cooked with it. I think this is the first time that we're having it. She made that by itself. And then I looked at it. I'm like, you know what? It's my grandma. She knows how to cook. Whatever. I'll eat it. The first bite, y'all, I swear to God, it tasted like boogers. Because it was...
How do you know what boogers taste like?
Because, you have it in your nose. And
You're
when
a
you...
chef. That's why.
Yeah.
You're a chef. That's why. We learned everything.
Oh my God. It's the consistency is the same thing as if it were loogie. You know what I mean? When you huck it and you spit it, oh my God.
It's like eating clam meat. It's like eating those things inside of like oysters and stuff.
Yeah. Oysters, clams. That exact consistency is what okra is. And
like
that's what a bowl of soup that she gave me.
If you sat there with an oyster, like the inside meat inside your mouth with that juice and everything, and you just let it sit in there, it starts to feel like you literally have a loogie in your throat. You're like, oh God.
That's what it is. It's disgusting, right?
One food for me that I cannot deal with, and it's not really a food, it's more of a spice. So I had a point, like, when you're a kid, you're figuring out what alcohol is. Like, I'm 21, but I still haven't bought a legal drink of alcohol. It's just, I don't need it. I don't really want it. I don't have a problem with it. But when it comes to, I had bad experience. You have those bad experiences that kind of make you stay away from it for the rest of your life. When I was working out, I was around my second year in, I drank a whole giant ass bottle of Fireball.
Ugh.
And I didn't, like, I have a high tolerancy for alcohol. Like, I can drink like 3 bottles of Jaeger and I'll be fine. I say that and people go, yeah, right. My brother didn't even believe me. And on my birthday, I killed 2 bottles in front of him. And he was like, how are you not drunk right now? And I'm like, but beer, I can't drink beer. Like, if I drink 3 or 4 beers, I get like, it's crazy the way it goes into my body. And I was watching Netflix and I was just doing I was slowly sipping this bottle of bottle of Fireball the whole time. I ended up like passing out, like knocking myself out while taking a piss. We had a shelf. You ever seen the movie Scary Movie where he's playing Yahtzee and he goes, yeah, and he jumps up and hits his head on the thing and knocks himself out. So that's what happened to me. I was actually going to the bathroom and I was backing up slowly and I didn't know, and I knocked myself out. And I went to the gym the next morning feeling like shit. I decided to hop on the treadmill. So I have no clue. I ran for like an hour and a half. I sweated the whole time, nothing but cinnamon. And whenever I smell cinnamon, I get immediately sick to my stomach. I used to eat French toast for breakfast. Not breakfast, but for dinner. Like that was that, like those breakfast meals for dinner were fucking amazing. Like you get it nice. Like I still don't understand it. My dad puts, he's from Baltimore. So he puts ketchup on his eggs. I think you're a savage if you do that.
It sounds like a good meal to me.
Like with cinnamon, whenever I smell it, I accidentally got mixed up with cinnamon and cumin at one point. I thought I was doing a lot of cumin on my salad, so I light up a cumin, and then I bite into it, and it's cinnamon, and immediately my stomach like felt like someone just grabbed it and squeezed it and was like, And I immediately just got sick to my stomach. And I'm like, this is when we have experiences with food. Like, this is why people get addicted to something like this, because there's something that goes chemically in your brain when you receive food. It's like receiving a hug. It's a way to kind of get off a little bit of what seems like your hard day. Like a lot of times when people are bored or lazy, what's the one thing you do? You decide to eat, and, you can get addicted to anything. Everything's good in moderation. And it goes to the concept of like interpretations are everything. Like, especially when you're having an experience for the first time, especially something you've never even decided to have a taste for. If a person that's cooking or preparing your food decides just to half-ass it, you might ruin that whole experience for somebody.
Definitely. So that's what we have to be careful for, and we make sure that you actually understand. And I make it quite a big deal at my restaurant, especially with the servers when they're trying to explain the foods. Like, just don't half-ass it. Literally tell them if they have a question, ask it again. If they have some kind of inkling into what ingredient that is, if you don't know, go in the back, ask me, and I'll let you know. But do not do not, for the love of God, just brush it off, because they're genuinely trying to know. And that's what our job is. We're trying to let them understand what they're eating so they know it. So just in case they want to check it out later or make it themselves, they can. So we shouldn't lie. So just say it how it is, and then we'll take it from there.
What's funny is you think of like it's going to lead me into my next question for you. You diving into the music industry, like you don't. It's the same basis as being a chef. You're creating something that some audience is consuming. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? You're literally when you're playing music on stage, you're a bunch of people, like a bunch of chefs coming together, adding your own spice to a mix, and you're hoping that it blends well and the audience receives it in a good fashion.
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good way of putting that together. Damn, never thought about that. But yeah,
So how did you even decided to get into the music industry? Like when did you decide like you were just one day cooking, like making some pancakes and like, hey, you know what? Let's start a band.
yeah. No, the other passion started when I was younger. I want to say it was definitely senior year of high school. That's when I started the whole playing guitar, singing, playing piano. And then it became, it's not really an obsession, but it became something that I wanted. So a little background to me. I love learning, and I think that's my high. I get a little I get a buzz from learning. So when I first picked up the instrument, I was like, oh God, this feels so good. Just like in cooking, I was like, oh man, what's the newest ingredient that I can mess with? And so my wheels started turning. I was like, I think I want to sing now. And then I started doing that. I was like, I think I want to play drums now. And I just kept at it for so long. And not until I think we started 2012 is when we first put the band together. It's been through two changes, like with staff, not staff, with band members. Now we've been together for 4 years with the same exact band members, and we're going strong. But the sound is pretty much like Foo Fighters, AC/DC ish, with a little like Hendrix mixed in, like old school classic rock kind of. That's what we kind of do. But to answer your question, I got into it because it felt like I was creating, and just like in cooking, I kept wanting to do more. So now it feels like I'm in at my happy place.
It's crazy because a lot of people don't understand, like, there's something about music that it's not restricted on whoever or whatever you are. It's for everyone. The amount of emotions you can feel, whether it's listening to like Alice in Chains, Man in the Box. Like, I'm pretty
Mm,
sure everybody's pump up song is either like, Dream On or something that like you're driving, like playing on some nice AC/DC, like Back in Black. Like, as soon as
mm.
you hear that, darn it, like right in the
Oh
beginning,
yeah.
like, oh shit, like it's about to go down. Mike Tyson,
Mm.
come at me. Like you got that whole mentality in you. And then there's songs that hit on such an emotional level, like where you're like having, like you're having an okay day, but you need to spice up your mood, and you just start playing like a nice reggae song or a nice like good rock song, and next thing you know, the windows are down. You're just singing like you don't give a shit. Like all your
Yeah.
the world get escaped.
Yeah, and that's how I feel with the music, and we're doing pretty good with music. We recently just booked not really a book, but we are partnered with a company that helps us book a little better, and we're getting quite a bit of shows for it. And then because the main goal, at least for the music gig, is to book out the rest of the year. That way, we have a set plan and what we're gonna do, and then promote new stuff as we're doing all these shows. And then eventually, my main goal is Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, that's a hard ass one too, because of the concept of you're playing in front of so many fucking people.
Yeah, but I can't wait.
This
It's
is
gonna be so good.
this is crazy because a lot of like this is why comedians nowadays and artists nowadays they make you lock your phone up before you go inside of a concert because
Hmm.
technology has made music fucking lazy, man.
Oh yeah, dude.
Dude, how simple it is. I've talked to people that do like new techno beat trap style music, and I talk to them like how hard is it for them? They go, it's it's when it comes to the new music and what's trending nowadays, it's all studio tied to the point like the government, or not the government, but the like the studio just gives you a beat and they just want you to say one word and then they just use your voice the whole time. Like it's when you see artists truly become lazy because the song doesn't have any emotion in it. It's just something you listen to that's like, yeah, this is a this is a good popular song, and you're like, but what does it make you feel? And you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's we're just getting desensitized on the amount of stuff because you can consume media in such a fast paced, especially music, because there will always be some artist, there will always be some other dude that's hungry or some other gal that's making badass music, but you're not gonna hear it. You actually need to search for it because the mainstream is what I call crap, and it's just it's disgusting. I don't think it's any new true music at all anymore. But Eric Clapton had a quote, a famous quote, like about 10 years ago. And he was asked the same question in regards to his kids, because he was explaining the same exact things, like, oh, all this music nowadays. When he was growing up, I mean, he grew up with the greats. So for him to compare music styles, it was something to kind of frown upon. But what he mentioned was something in the likes of, I listen to my kids' music and I think it's good. It's not my cup of tea, but I think all music is good. You just need to find your silver lining. And to his point, like in my opinion, today's pop music or the mainstream shit is shit. I don't. That's I don't. I don't. I don't even listen to radio or any of the major stuff that's going on. But I will go ahead and take my time and find the artists that are actually starving and find their music because I know, and I know because I do the same exact thing with my music. I know that we put our heart and soul to it, and it's going to be 10 times better than what mainstream is because I know just in the lyrics alone, just pure lyrics, there's some gratis to them. So
It's crazy
yeah.
because people always think of like, oh, that dude's just extremely talented. I'm like, I've seen bands that don't perform that well, but each and every single one of them were on the same frequency, the same level that they made it good. They made
Mhm.
so like their music, the lyrics were not good. None of the beats were good, and nothing was about it. It was obviously just a train wreck. But seeing them perform live, I enjoyed it so much because I get to see these guys that truly did not give a shit and were there because they cared about each other and they wanted this goal and they wanted to obtain this thing. They wanted to create something that people would dance their toes to. When you have that environment on stage, like you can tell when someone in a kitchen is arguing with someone or there's a disagreement. There seems to be like a little bit of disconnectivity and kind of like a little bit of hatred in the room. Same thing on stage, okay? You're on stage, if you're not vibing with your guitar player, if you're not vibing with your bass player, if you're all thinking like you're holding an aggression that happened like an hour before, you cannot really play right. You don't have the connectivity and the wholeness that really brings in the crowd.
Absolutely. And that's where we try to diverse, right? And just to mention the whole band thing, when we were playing around, we're pretty much at the same level. Everyone can expect the same out of us, and it's performance based. But when you see other kind of bands that are not so good, but they're still on the same performance level, yo, it's still a good day no matter what. So
What are one of the things you find fascinating about writing music? Like, do you I know you make your own songs, but like, have you ever like, is it the whole process of trying to find the words and sit yourself down? Like, I find some of the interesting stories are the bands that reach a certain level of fame and then they decide like, no, we're gonna go down in the garage like we used to, and we're gonna sit down there and force ourselves to write a song because we need to get back to our roots again. Like,
mhm,
stories like that. Like for me, when I was in a band for a brief time, the hardest thing for me was just the writing process, like trying to sit there
mhm.
and find words. I found that like my brother who was singing, he was the one that was able to, think of them quick. For me, it was more like, I'm just sitting there kind of you tell me what to do and I'll do it, whatever. But having like
Mhm.
just like we're just gonna play music and one dude's just playing the same thing over and over and over again for maybe 5 minutes, and then everyone else just kind of sitting around, and then people just start hopping in one at a time, and you start
Mhm.
hearing this flow and this work, and you start to see something turn into something. And then when like hours are at the end of the day, you walk out of that room, you walk out of that garage, and you're all like, we just created a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah. And the same process still applies, at least to no matter what band you're in. And for a long time, the way we compose songs is I'll pretty much write it 80% there, and lyrics and all. Lyrics will be complete, and I have a full idea of the melody and the guitar work and stuff. And then, I'll then divvy it out to my band members. But now I'm like, hey guys, I think I have an idea. Here it is. So I'll play on my guitar. I was like, I think I want it to go like this, blah, blah, blah. And then either my drummer or my bass player were hopping. It's like, how about we do this? And then we go back and forth. And then without even telling them, because they get a little shy when I do it, when I hit record. And I'm like, hey, I'm recording. And then they get all like, oh, I don't know, man. So you just kind of need to play the room, and then you need to understand your people when you're writing, or whatever group of heads you're kind of going about. I don't tell them that I'm recording, but the best ideas happen when they know they're not on the spot, at least for the recording purposes. Because when we say recording, their brain switches to when we're in the studio actually tracking. It's like it's a paid hour, and it's a different focus that they need to emit. And I think that's where they're kind of going to.
Yeah,
So when
especially
I,
when like a comedian, someone you immediately mention you're a comedian. People go, "Hey, why don't you tell me a joke, funny guy?" It's like, yeah,
yeah,
thanks
yeah,
for
yeah,
throwing me right on the spot.
yeah. It's like it's a different mentality when we say record or write on a stage. So when we're just by ourselves having a good time or writing and some shit, um, if we're, in my opinion, I won't tell them. I'll just hit record. I was like, yeah, let's run that again. Like, how about we do this, blah blah, and let just go. Let that flow dissipate, and then we'll go back to it on another day. See if we can reflect on it, and then if we all like it, and that's the part of it, and that's I think that's what's more important. It's like if everybody gels and everybody digs that sound or that style or that flow, then we go ahead and write it. If not, we just put it for another day. And that's what the whole recording process, at least in my brain, works. That way, nobody's kind of on edge, because I get it. I totally get it.
It's definitely a tense thing. You feel like there's a lot of pressure when it comes to just trying to please everyone in the crowd, because everyone's going to be thinking the same, feeling the same, and have different experiences through life too. And
Mm.
Casey, man, I appreciate you coming out and doing the podcast, man. It's been awesome talking to you and shooting the shit. I want to give you here a minute at the end to promote your stuff and find where people can see your awesome content.
No, absolutely. I like I said, I think you're one of the coolest dudes, interview wise, because I think we're on the same level. I do the same exact thing when I talk to other people on Thursdays on my pod. But anyway, you can find all my good stuff, and I'll give Robbie the links, that way you guys can find it. But Chef Salty Pork is the podcast name. On Tuesdays, I talk shop with my sous chef at the restaurant, and we just kind of shoot some crap. And we're both gamers too, so we do a lot of techie stuff on Tuesdays, and we just kind of reflect on our week. Just talk crap about our employees, because it's it's just so fun doing so. And then on Thursdays, where I interview other podcasters, and I just want to know how people eat. Let me see if I can, get them to eat a little better, or maybe they have some questions
Expand
in
your
regard.
taste buds.
Yeah, expanding your taste buds. You have any questions for the industry? I'm pretty versed at it. I've been at it for 18 years. I'm pretty sure I can answer quite a bit of questions that you might have. But like I said, I'll give Rob all the links, because there's some other stuff in there. We do YouTube also, do some videos, and then I'll give you the band link also, so you can find my music. But other than that, hey, I truly appreciate you, and we should do this again. But we'll talk about other stuff.